Yes, I am always in my old man era. Welcome to the Yaoi Shelf.
Welcome.
Grab a seat and relax.
Are we relaxed? How are we feeling today, Amanda?
You know what? Honestly, I feel really good.
Okay, good.
I feel really good.
Good.
Welcome. You guys get real face today, no makeup, because as I mentioned to Carola earlier, I was taking a nap.
Sometimes the naps prevail.
I
Can
had
relate.
I had an old man weekend where I fell. And I
Oh
I, I slipped and fell.
no! Where? Like, do you have context? Like,
Oh, I mean, truly an old man. I was getting up. I think I was getting up and going to the bathroom, and I just like
oh no!
I slipped into like the splits, hit my knee, and I just gave up for a minute.
Do we need to install those
Like handrails.
handrails all over
Yes.
your apartment? Like, is that
Yeah.
what we're doing now?
I
Should we
was
get you
just
some rugs?
yeah, I need some anti-slip mats. I was just talking to my aunt about this. We were together for Thanksgiving. It was one of those commercials that you probably don't get in Norway, but like this will resonate to Americans. Those like refitted bath commercials where it's like, "Oh, we take your dangerous bathtub and we like refit it to like a smaller, safer bathtub because you're old and we can't leave you in the bath all day." Uh,
Yeah, no, we don't get those.
but I'll have to show you an example. But
Okay.
I was like, these look very comfortable. Just these like little bath cabinets that you can sit down in, and there's like 1,000 jets.
Yeah, but like, you gotta be proactive. It's like that thing, where any one of us could have a horrible car accident tomorrow and become
Exactly.
disabled, and all of a sudden you can't get into your apartment because it's all stairs, right? So everyone
Yeah.
should have accessible housing. Like, we should just start from our 20s,
Right. Like aging is the one disability we are all going to have to account for.
right?
Uh, which is not what happens to the subject of our episode today.
No, they don't age, do
They
they?
don't. They sure don't age. Uh, that was a nice segue, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was very smooth.
Thank you. I
Uh,
appreciate it.
Smooth, like, yeah. No, no. How excited are we?
We are the opposite of excited, which we will get to in a little bit. But as we round out the year, we're gonna finish out with the Clueless Uke Trope. Eh,
I think that it fits the season,
It
There's something
does.
about that, the childlike joy and believing in the goodness of the world and being so pure and innocent. Just
I mean, that's one way to describe it.
like, am I wrong though?
You're not, and I just okay. So, if longtime listeners to the show know Corolla and I's feelings about the Clueless Uke, which is why it's so interesting that we're talking about it today. But I think understanding why we hate it so much is going to be important as far as untangling like two big factors in BL, which is one, the sojo roots,
Oh, trust me, I brought some academia today.
and two, the thinly veiled misogyny.
I love getting misogyny for Christmas. Why did I not wear my Slay the Patriarchy sweater? For your audio listeners, I am wearing my Garfield and Odie hoodie that I bought in the children's section at H&M.
I love Garfield.
I love Garfield, and side note, I am so happy because every year for Christmas since I was a small child, my mom has
Yes.
bought me they have, like, I don't know if you do that, but we have like these Christmas comics. So like all of the comic books, like even the ones that were discontinued like 30 years ago, they come out with a Christmas issue, and like there's just a huge rack at the store with like all of these Christmas comics, and most of them are just like thinly veiled. They will have like a couple of stories in there that are
Yeah.
centered on Christmas, but it's mostly just recycled old things. But ever since I was a small child, my mom has bought me a Garfield Christmas comic book for Christmas morning, but the last couple of years they haven't made them. And so I was at the store the other day and they had the Garfield comic, and I was like, Mom, they have the Garfield comic. So I'm very excited. My mom is buying me a Garfield comic book again for Christmas morning. I'm very
That
excited.
is so sweet. That is so sweet and so pure. Just
It's like the most wholesome. Yeah.
like these clueless
Putting
ukes.
yeah, putting the whole in wholesome over here. Okay, let's wait, let me
No,
quote you
no,
something. Because
no.
I was
You don't get to quote me
you
anything.
like this. You like this.
I
was
will. Okay.
remember when you like way back when I first joined this podcast,
Yes.
you were the one who I don't know if you introduced me to it, but you certainly if I knew it before, you dug up some long repressed memory as you talked about how the concept of pole and hole.
Yes.
Okay, so here from the BL Bible, the Boys Love Manga and Beyond chapter on terminology,
Yes.
there is a section that says there are many rules that BL writers have to follow.
Mhm.
This is juxtaposed against Dorjin. So in original BL, there are many rules that BL writers have to follow, such as the principle of ichibo iketsu, one stick, one hole, meaning that the couple needs to be monogamous. And I read this and I thought of you. Ichibo iketsu.
I love that monogamy was a part of the dogma. And like, we talk about this all the time. We will like some down bad, problematic shit in fic, but cheating on your wife is the one thing we won't do.
I know. Again, I will excuse murder.
Like, we will excuse so much stuff, but the one thing neither of us will co-sign is cheating on your wife.
Right? And again, it's like, and with my ultimate OTPs, I will be like, there is only one pairing here. Don't you fucking dare pair my man with another man who isn't his husband. I will go to war for Sasunaru. We will get to that next year. But that was your idea. No.
What the fuck was it? It was you let me do this.
I think I put a note on this somewhere, so I'll probably come back to it. But it's actually also related to what we are talking about, which is the Clueless Uke.
So, I'm excited to talk about the Clueless Uke because, yes, it does allow us to go into the roots of yaoi being sojo, and 2, takes us back to yaoi therapy where we discuss our thinly veiled misogyny. Yes.
This might be a result of me spending the entire weekend in figure skating hell/paradise with the Grand Prix final and Yuzu's ice show back to back. I have been, So, as I was doing my academic research,
yes,
I suddenly find myself like playing devil's advocate over this thing. I'm like, what the freak happened? But then again, I think it's one of those coping mechanisms where it's just like, I just want to find something positive in it because it makes me so sad. And originally, I was going to rewatch Oka no Ganai, but I didn't have any time because figure skating ate my life. Might be for the better.
So, Carola, I think we need to start off with some terminology.
Yes.
For many of our younger listeners, which we just did Spotify Wrapped for creators.
We did.
Thank you to everyone who listens to us.
Shout out to Taiwan.
Shout out to Taiwan.
Yeah,
hello.
To Taiwan.
That was fantastic. But because we have extensive analytic data, we know that most of our listeners experienced BL with the very, very common dialogue of Seme Uke, which we have done a whole episode about, and how it has led to some less than ideal ways of framing gender and masculinity in the world of BL and sometimes in real life.
And sometimes when I read about it, because I do this, I host talks on this, and I try to break this down, and I'm like telling the story, and then every time I go into the academia, I realize what a fucking clusterfuck this is, because two things can be true at the same time. So sometimes even I get like super confused because I'll be like reading, and then it goes against everything I've learned. But I also think it has a lot to do with there are context within context. There are periods, there are movements, there
Mhm.
are subjective opinions and voices.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think, I do appreciate that this younger generation is moving away from using seme and uke dogmatically. I think that reflects a lot of discussions that were had. Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm just, I'm a purist. I kind of
I
stick.
know. I think where I like it is in the breaking down of essentially what are gender roles.
Hmm.
As someone who's gender fluid.
As someone who's like, what the fuck are gender roles
Yeah.
anyway?
As someone who regularly consumes the gender fluid, it's
Uh,
nice to see these roles broken down in a way that's a little bit less sexist. So it isn't so much about top and bottom being these determinative things like, oh, as the top, you are the one with control and the one with power.
except when it is. Yeah.
Or as the bottom, you're in this really, really infantilized, uh, very female coded role, which brings us back to the Clueless Uke. So, Uke, of course, comes from our standard BL and Yaoi terminology, of course, assuming that they are the bottom or the one taking it,
Hmm.
the whole instead of the pole.
Yes. And of course, in the roots of BL, because BL and sports will forever be
Mm-hmm.
intertwined. It does come from baseball terms. Often, the catcher and the pitcher. The Japanese words uketeru to receive or to take,
Mm-hmm.
and semeteru to attack, or
Yes.
semeru to attack. Semeru. I'm sorry.
How dare you?
I said
Shame.
semeteru. I don't know my conjugations. Okay, leave me alone. I'm tired.
We're both tired. In Clueless coming from. So here's the thing about the Clueless Uke. Sometimes they can be hard to spot, and other times they're so distracting because we don't mean clueless in like the, like ditzy girl way. We mean clueless as in, I don't know how this person exists
Yeah.
in day to day life. Because it'd be one thing if it's just like, like ditzy,
Yeah.
infantilized girl clueless. Clueless ukes often have no idea how to communicate their feelings, their physical wants, their anything. And they are still going through the world like a really a ditzy young child.
Yeah, and they truly have no sense of self-preservation. They have,
No.
and when we say clueless, like these are very often, and mind you, often grown men. A lot of the
Yes.
time they are teenagers because a lot of this is like, school focused BLs or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. But these are relatively mature
Mm-hmm.
human beings who are just going around in the world not knowing what is going on ever, and
Yeah.
especially in like in the context of their own bodies, and anything even remotely sexual. And I have such a great example. I've done some reading this week and we will get to that because oh my god, you're gonna love this one.
Oh no. Oh.
Unless you've read it, but I doubt it because it's relatively new. So
I might have read it. I think the thing with the Clueless UK is that if you are thinking of a series that started in the 1990s, you probably have encountered more than one
hmm.
because they were everywhere when
It truly
Carola
is.
and I.
Which is it, and it's impressive because again, you got to remember just how little BL we were getting, at least in
Yes.
terms of like animations.
Yes.
But then, and so we've covered a lot of these. Like, we talked about Gaku in Heaven.
Oh, did I show you the artifact? Hold on.
Is it Gaku in Heaven related? Oh
Yes.
god.
It's the camera.
Camera, come on. It's just like a white square.
I know. I see that.
Nice white square,
No,
Amanda.
it's Gaku in Heaven on
Oh
DVD.
yeah, I can see who's I can't remember their names.
I don't remember either,
Because
but
like but it's the pretty one. It's like the really pretty one who looks like
yes,
he belongs in Rose of Versailles, and then the other
yes.
one.
But I found this for $4
Oh my god.
at the DVD store. So
I am still so mad because you got. I know we're not talking about this, but I just
oh no,
need to vent because I just
yes,
again need to express that Gaku in Heaven was my first meeting
yes,
with dating sim game turned
yep.
anime. So and again, I am still opposed to these because it doesn't work to try to squeeze all of the roots into a 12 episode series
This
where
is
he
true.
doesn't end up dating anyone. And of course, fucking Kazuki, who I hate on a visceral level, but it's fine.
Is it fine?
No.
Uh, but we talk about access and everything when it comes to BL, and yeah, we didn't have a lot of options, so it seemed like one thing that got imprinted on a lot of Fujian of that time is this really strong hatred of these, like, the word that comes to mind is like feckless, just thoughtless, cannot communicate feelings at all. You're not sure how they function in society, and it's I've been thinking about infantilization a lot because I was at the airport wearing a shirt from BuzzFeed Unsolved, and there were these two guys sitting next to me who were like supply chain engineers. And we started talking, and they think I'm the most intelligent person they'd ever seen, but I feel like I'm dressed like a child. So I've been thinking a lot about like infantilization.
Yeah. But like I face that all the time. Like, look at me. And I am literally wearing a hoodie
A
from the
Garfield
kids
hoodie.
section
Right.
right now. Like this is a size, kids age 12
Right. Like
sweatshirt. And people look at me like I am stupid. And sometimes I am, and I'll give you that. But like, and then I say something, and then I'm like holding my presentations, and then they're
yeah.
like, "You actually know what you're talking about." I'm like, "Yes, I just look like a child."
But I think infantilize is going to be a big word for this episode. And when we say clueless, I know that there's a tinge, especially with modern media literacy, to ascribe a certain ableism to this.
Mm.
It's like, oh, well, what if that Uke is on the spectrum? Well, it wasn't told to us, so we don't know. That's a grand theory, and I appreciate it. But unless it says in the description officially, this character is this, then it's hard to dogmatically apply ableism to that,
Mm.
though I have seen it done before. It's ableist of us to ascribe certain demographic terms.
Yeah.
Um, Carola, do you want to talk about your fun fact?
Yes, I went hunting because I wanted to do some reading, preparing for this.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I think I said it in the last episode that I was going to try to read both older and newer works to try to compare the Clueless Ukes of today and yesteryear. Spoiler, didn't go that well because time is an illusion. But I did do some reading. So I went on manga updates, as one does, our Lord and Savior, to look for Clueless Uke. And to my surprise, there are actually somehow only 96 entries for Clueless Uke as a tag. There are a bunch of other tags like that are kind of related, like Innocent Uke, Pure Uke, a lot of these overlap. But the Clueless Uke specifically only has 96 entries, and most of them are post 2010, which I thought was interesting because most of our Ukes that we think of are 90s, early 2000s because they were everywhere.
And I think that speaks to the experience of early Fujian because, especially as I've been back on my writing journey, I realize how much of what I do as a writer is done entirely to fight off the allegations of committing like a trope crime.
Yeah.
Like I fall into like Mary Sue syndrome so hard sometimes with like my old OCs because I'm fighting valiantly to try to not be like this, ditzy fell out of the sky character. Um,
Mm.
so Clueless UK, we start seeing the bones of it again in early BL culture. And we're talking like the culture that Carola and I came up in, where we're obsessed with labels and names. There were quizzes. And if you weren't semi enough, you didn't pass the semi quiz. Um, and Clueless usually slotted in more of, as mentioned, that innocent, really pure, usually a little less aware when it comes to the world type of character. And if that immediately bothers you, you might not like Sojo either.
Yeah. Good lord.
Because I know I don't like that character in female characters. So,
I'm just having
yes.
like this like real, it's like when Grell kills someone and you
Yes.
have like the spiraling like film clips. That's me
Yes.
right now with all the toxic shoujo I've read in my life. And when I
Yeah.
say toxic, like, don't group me with the anti-children, but just, a lot of shoujo is terrible and makes you very, very angry.
It does.
Yeah. And
We're
yeah,
gonna
and
talk about BL misogyny in the new year.
yeah. Ha. That's surprise related.
It is. I think there's an important note here that says when we say clueless, what is clueless versus dumb, and where the intersection of that is.
Yeah, because they're not necessarily stupid. Like, of
No.
course, there has to be a degree of stupidity
Yes.
to, be so unaware of, like, one of my favorite things in the Clueless Uke is when they're like, what is this feeling? Like, they've never had an erection. And I'm
Never.
like, sir, you're 25 years old. Have you seen a doctor? So like that's clueless, but then
Yeah.
you have stupid characters, and I know
Yes.
you're not necessarily gonna agree with me on this, but I'm gonna bring up Shuichi, because Shuichi is dumb as a fucking brick, but he isn't clueless in that way. He's actually quite capable, but he is dumb as a fucking brick. And I love that about him, but I wouldn't say he's clueless in the same way as comparing him to some of these other Ukes from my past, and unfortunately also my current life that I keep encountering.
I think you just made me hate him more.
No!
Like, because it's one thing to not be able to do these things and to do them, but knowing that he's essentially been in this long con perpetuating learned helplessness when he could be better makes me hate him a little more.
But I think that he's quite capable. I'm not saying that his problem solving skills are great, because again, one of my favorite panels in the entire fucking manga is when he for some reason gets it into his head. And I mean, he's kind of right. Yuki has been kidnapped, but he's been kidnapped by Tatsuha, so it's not that bad. But Shuichi somehow gets it into his head that Yuki's been kidnapped, and so his natural response to this is to scream at the top of his lungs, grab a knife, and then stab himself in the arm. And I'm like, I'm not entirely sure what you're trying to do here, but he's trying to be assertive in his own way. Like, he will put heaven and earth in motion to solve a problem, but it's not necessarily the best way of solving it. He's just stupid. But he's not like, we're not gonna pretend like Shuichi doesn't know what sex is. Because even in the early love scenes in Gravitation, he's very aware of what is happening.
This is what Carola wanted. She just wanted to talk about Gravitation again.
I always want to talk about Gravitation, but it's also like it is always at the forefront of my mind.
You just wanted
But
I
also
tried to come
no,
up with a
like
nice episode to end the season, and Carola just wants to talk about gravitation
but
again.
in my defense, I also want to say that, gravitation between the two of us, we've talked a lot about it. We've watched it and read it
Hmm.
religiously, and it
Hmm.
does span 12 volumes plus sequel plus another. Like, it
Hmm.
has a lot of media, and a lot of these mangas are like one shots that I
Hmm.
read twice when I was 15, and I don't remember what they're. I don't remember the title of the manga. I don't know the names of any of the characters. So it's like, obviously I'm gonna draw from the media I actually remember details from. But I can tell you, there are a lot of unnamed moron Uke characters out there in my life.
And I think
They're
that's
out
what's
there.
interesting is because, like, yeah, same. I've been in this world longer than I like admitting. And they all just blend into like this gelatinous blob of sad uke.
There you go. There's a match for the design you sent me earlier.
Yeah, like
Like,
it just becomes like one sad uke homunculus
yeah,
where they just all are floating together. They all have like a generic bland name.
yeah.
It's probably Haru.
Or you. Like, there's
Yeah.
like you. Why you is like
Yeah.
very common.
It is a version of Haru, you, and Mina is in there somewhere,
Yeah, yeah,
usually
yeah.
for the last name.
Yeah.
It's this distilled brick character.
And and then they have like, they have the giant eyes, and
The
like very, very often they have like, because they're drawn, it's black and white. So,
Yeah.
technically their hair color could be anything.
But
But
it's
they typically have like they look like they're blonde, and
they
they
look
have
like they're
like this,
blonde.
and they have like that style where it's kind of like just like,
An upside down onion.
yeah, kind of. Like, it's kind of like, like what's his name? Oh my god. Like Izumi from Love Stage, like that, but
Yes.
not as modern.
No.
It's very, the one I'm talking about. Like, I can, if I go and like rifle through my like old school June shelf right now, there's gonna be like 50% of the volumes in there will have that uke. Like, and
Like
then
you have
they're
yes.
so skinny. They're just like so
They're,
thin.
they're these like wafer thin.
Yeah.
They're 90% eyes.
Oh
It's
god,
why
I am
so
that.
it's really, really funny because we attribute owls as being intelligent, right? Owls are dumb as shit because their skull capacity is taken up by eyes.
Yeah, which
That's
is,
the Clueless Uke.
yeah, but and then there will inevitably be this one scene somewhere in the
Yes.
manga where the uke wears the Samus shirt.
Yes.
Like the uniform shirt, and he's just like
It's just falling
drowning in
off
it.
of him.
Which honestly is an aesthetic that I don't hate. I think it's very cute.
But it like it's so scary because again, to come back to the word of the day, infantilization, it doesn't look like sexy. I mean, there's no sexy
No.
way to be Winnie the Pooh, but it doesn't look hot. It looks
Somewhere out there's a Halloween slut eager to
like to be a hot Winnie the Pooh.
like eager to prove you wrong.
Like I've never thought that look is super attractive. But like they look frail. They
Okay,
don't look
if you are a listener, like, just look up the classic only the ring finger knows, and you'll know exactly what kind of hairstyle I'm talking about. They all look like this. One of these days, I'm just gonna make like a compilation of you saying I won't go back.
You can't
You can't make me.
make me. Like it doesn't look attractive that they're so small. It looks unhealthy.
And then, yeah, and then you have to remember that a lot of these manga in particular that were being churned out, and again, I wonder if this was like particularly a Western problem, because the only like imprint we had, at least here, we had June, right? June manga, DMP's June manga. And they were just churning out what was mostly like one shots. At most, they would have maybe 3 volumes. And except for like Jazz, which has 5 volumes, which was a rarity back then.
Oh, Jazz.
But then you have like they would churn out these, and and so I wonder if this was just because these were the ones that were the easiest to localize and to get published in English, because so many of them are the exact same, and this is where the infamous yaoi anatomy comes into it. So on one hand,
Mm-hmm.
you have this match figure Uke matched with this man whose hands and shoulders.
Yeah, he's built like an artist model where he's just like a bunch of triangles.
Yeah. It's like they forgot to do the thing where you erase the help lines.
Yeah. And they just look boxy like a truck.
Yeah, and then you have this dude who is, 90% chin, shoulders, and hands fold
These
this.
tiny wayfish alien creatures.
Like, I don't know if I should like have a trigger warning for like body image and like eating disorders here, but I feel like I have seen wrists thicker than some uke thighs from the early 2000s. Like some of these boys were built in a very concerning way.
Yeah, it's so interesting. And I think, yeah, there's a big point to be made about the lack of access out there. So like there was definitely a season, and if you go into my Yaoi shelves and look at what I've purchased and what I've saved, that yes, there was definitely a time where this shit was just getting cranked out. And it's why, again, I think when I think about Fujin of our age and our generation, probably one of the big reasons that we have such strong feelings about this is because of the environment we grew up in.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying that we can't be held accountable for our own feelings that later are clearly thinly veiled misogyny. But I do think that we can credit a lot to the background that we had, which was after a certain point, if you line up all these one shots, you could feasibly say they're the same series.
Yeah, a lot of them, same thing.
A lot of them were doing the exact same thing.
I literally read something this week, but like I read 4 novels this weekend in between everything because I'm preparing for an event. So I'm like reading everything all at once, and it's all like a blob in my head. But I was reading some. Let's see, is it over here? I think maybe it was this thing. Let's see, because there was like this bonus manga like in the. It was very strange. Yes. And I forgot. I was going to look this up because this is Happiness recommended by Himawari Soya, which I got recently, secondhand. And in the back, there's one of those bonus manga, which is like an older one shot by the author, and it's called Another Rainy Day. And it is literally very similar to one of my most beloved manga, which is, pornographer / the novelist. And because you have this dude who crashes into this dude on a bicycle, breaks his arm, and then the other guy has to transcribe his erotic fiction for him. And I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Now I have to find out which one came first. I'm like, what? What?
Yeah.
That was a side note. But yeah, a lot of them are very similar. And let's face it, a lot of BL, old and new, exists for us to see the pretty boys kiss.
Yes.
So the plot doesn't have to be like super original. Like we're not talking, Nobel Prize literature winners here. Like we're talking get the boys to kiss.
I discovered that one of my aunts has a crippling addiction to Hallmark Christmas movies.
Oh God.
First of all, I have never felt closer to being like Truman Capote or Ernest Hemingway. I felt like the best fucking writer in America. I like in comparison to some of these scripts and plots, I felt like I am F. Scott Fitzgerald writing the next great American novel.
But yeah, but because it's like that thing. I think it's like a tweet or something where someone fell asleep in the middle of a Hallmark Christmas movie, woke up in the middle of another one, and didn't realize they weren't the same film because they're literally the same and often have the same actors. I learned recently.
So I'm over here just chest puffed up like I am the next great American author. and two, like in hindsight, because I made one snarky comment. I said, there was a whole contrived gingerbread battle, that the gingerbread battle became a way to battle for an actual man, because of
Oh,
course it
okay.
did.
Of
And
course it did.
the woman who won the man and the prize, I was like, that's not even the best gingerbread house. Like the others are much more impressive. And
Were
my
you
aunt just,
watching?
huh?
You were watching this with your aunties, right?
Yes.
Oh God, they would hate me because we do this. Like we do like bad Christmas romance film bingo every year, and we watched Love Actually for the first time a couple of years ago.
I
I
do like
hate
Love
that film.
Actually.
Oh
Okay.
my God, no, I hated it. I
Okay.
I can't. Which is funny because one of the reasons I hate these films so much is because of the tropes that I meanwhile completely brush off in BL. You know, like when I'm
Yep.
reading BL, like the same tropes will appear, and I'll be like, "Shogunai." I'll just pretend like it doesn't. Like
But it's so, but to the point that I was getting at is that, yeah, this is a vehicle for something else. Like this Hallmark movie that had me feeling like my Mad and Mellow fic was the next great American novel, because
imagine.
I use reflected instead of thought.
Wow.
Right.
Okay. Wow.
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 Uh this is a vehicle for dopamine and for predictable plots so you can turn your brain off.
Mm,
That's what the Clueless Uke is. He is a vehicle so the seme can have action and fulfillment.
yeah. And the rest of us could have some light trauma.
Yeah. Well,
Because
we weren't supposed to be traumatized. We were supposed to think how big and strong the seme is.
yeah, exactly. And because unlike the holiday films where you're supposed to end up feeling fulfilled, it's like you're kind of over here like, well, that is in it, like you would say in a lot of context, that sure is some non-con. You know,
There's so much non.
for someone who doesn't want to go back there, we sure talk about old fandom things a lot. We are just like,
So that sets the stage for a lot of different conversations that we're going to have during this episode. I
yeah.
notice as it's been 37 minutes
Oh
and a
my
lot
God.
has been said and very little has been done. Uh,
What else is new?
a lot has been said, very little has been done. And I actually have plans today.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's not your fault. I'm going to go see Gladiator 2. Totally for the plot.
Ooh, of course.
I'm so here for all that plot. It's going to be great. So, like, we all can agree the first movie was art that happened to have some horny to it via Joaquin Phoenix. This is not going to be art. We know that.
Yeah.
It's not going to be art, but it's still going to be horny.
Maybe that's what we need.
I think that's really what we need right now. Like, this is not going to be a thoughtful, artistic masterpiece like the first one.
And like going back to the whole Christmas movie thing, what I've
Yes.
seen based on like reviews that have been posted in the news here lately, it seems like horny Christmas movies are the way to go this year. So I feel like you're perfectly on track right now. Like apparently the holiday season is all about the horny this year.
Yep.
Which you know what? We've had a rough year. It's been a rough year. We are allowed to enjoy some porn in these trying times.
As a treat. But
As
I
a
think
little treat.
it's,
It's a little holiday treat for ourselves. Make sure you wrap some porn on put it under the tree for yourself this year. Treat yourself to some BL. This has been Christmas wishes with Carola for yes. The holiday season 2024. I don't even know.
so why did the Clueless Uke become a thing? Because you would think, being a story of two males, that this would give writers the opportunity to write two characters that are equally compelling. Because
Ha!
we've already given up on mangaka giving female characters any interest or agency. Unless it's Shinichiro Watanabe, then he can do it. But
But
no one else.
that's not shoujo. So
I know. Like, it's Naitao or Watanabe. They can do it, and like that's it.
I do want to, just put a word in there for my girl Yukino Miyazawa from
Okay.
Katakano, because like she's good.
Okay, and the mangaka from Paradise Kiss.
Yes, our queen Yazawa. I
Okay, there we go. There's four. So
wow.
you would think that being two male centric characters, this would allow writers, especially of original material, to be able to craft characters that are more unique and more fleshed out. Because typically, the excuse that women get when writing female characters is that this kind of arc isn't expected out of them. We don't want to take away from the boys' super big, valid fantasy dream escapes by having women have thoughts.
Which what the hell? Who is texting me?
Who is texting you?
Apparently, it is the male people who are really stressed about me picking up a package, which I was, because everything is usually closed on Sundays and there's no mail. But
Yes.
the 3 last Sundays before Christmas, they do have open stores for a little bit. So I was out earlier today, but the stores hadn't opened yet because apparently they didn't open until 2. So I didn't get to pick up my package. So I'm going to have to try to do it after this because they keep texting me, even though it arrived yesterday.
Uh,
They're stressed, okay?
uh, so, Carola, can you bring us some Sojo Academia and tell us how we got stuck in this hellhole?
I can try. I did some academic reading, which means I
Mm-hmm.
have a lot of notes that are all over the place,
Oh, God.
because that is how I roll. But I read two. Actually, I didn't read all of them, but I read excerpts from one of these. So there was
Mm-hmm.
this one text called "Feminist Approaches to Manga Between the 1970s and 2000s"
Mm-hmm.
by uh, Finnish scholar Laida Liminaiti.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, at least I think she says, um, like this is just like a preface kind of thing. So it says shoujo means girl in Japanese, but it's not only that. It's a further connotation which is related to the ways a girl in Japan should behave. That is a
Mm-hmm.
quote from a different paper. Shoujo was the girl that should be free of any sexual desires and fantasies. In
Mm-hmm.
fact, the initial use wasn't gender related, but age related. Even if it was sexually mature, the shoujo was considered as sexually immature from the society, while the word shonen, which is now used for boys, was used to describe children in general.
Mm-hmm.
Shoujo manga usually have romantic themes and have a more psychological approach, contrary to the more adventurous shonen manga, which emphasizes friendship, comradeships, winning, and insistence. And, if we just reading that, that has a lot of that sounds like BL. Like it's
Yeah.
literally the same thing as how uke characters are perceived.
Right. And I think what's amazing in reading some of those early ukes is how very female coded they are.
Hmm.
Like, I think sometimes I forget that, mainly being a smut peddler of original IPs that already have existing characters rather than like one shots and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So most of my smut comes in the form of fan fiction.
Mm-hmm.
So when we're dealing with characters that are existing IP, usually there's less of this like gender role rigidity. Though we have talked about like the uke beam that gets hit by that some characters get hit by, and it is jarring as fuck.
Yeah. And I
Uh,
think
yes.
again, like a lot of that came from the fact that we we perceived ukes that way. Like that was
Mhm.
the way an uke was supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
Much like, you know, how the shoujo is supposed to be, as in this description, because that was what we were seeing. So, you know, it's a circle that keeps perpetuating itself. And,
Yes.
you know, as a side note, shoujo, the word shoujo is also used to describe virgins, so female virginity. So that is also
Mm-hmm.
important. And then that gets
Right.
projected onto the clueless uke, who is
Yeah.
very often, does not matter if this man is 40 years old,
Yes.
he is a virgin, he's never touched a dick, not even his own.
Right.
In fact, he's probably not even aware that he has one. I'm so sad.
So the height of the Clueless Uke's reign of terror really was, as mentioned, when Carola and I first started getting into. This is personal against us.
We're
We're the
so
only
freaking
ones that were
lucky.
affected by this. Um, really started, of course, when Yaoi and BL started to become popular, but was still in its era of limited access.
Yeah.
So this is very much like your Tokyo Pop early June era. So we're talking really like very late 90s to early 2000s. And
Yeah.
what's interesting is that there is this little dip where even your uke is still usually trying to present some form of very like gender stereotyped masculinity, because I think of series like Yellow or like
Oh,
Fake.
yes.
Um
Wait, I have to
oh no.
just keep talking. I just remembered something. I'm just gonna look at what I wrote about it.
Where you have series like Border and Yellow and Fake, where the characters are still allowed to be masculine men, that it isn't masculinity that connotates or denotates queerness. It's more that it's a choice rather than it being something that is dogmatically adhered to. And if anything, usually the one that is queer is the one that has an easier time at expressing things in life and emotion. I remember that being a huge part of Yellow, where it's like, oh, I accept that I have feelings for men. So that means I'm able to better talk about
Yeah.
my emotions. And the person who's closed off and is still desperately trying to hold on to them being straight is not able to do that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I just remembered when you said that a while ago, and I mean this was in July apparently, according to Instagram. So we all know I love Takenaga Hinako.
Yes.
And I was able to get my hands on Love Around, which is one of her older works. It was
Mhm.
actually published by, okay, why is that a French word? Uh, an out of print BL print
Mhm.
in the US called Do.
Mhm.
Yeah. And so Love Round is a slapstick comedy BL where the main character, the Uke, who is exactly the type that we just described, he is a boxer. Despite the fact that he is the least muscular thing you've ever seen, he is like a he packs a punch. Like he punches his love interest in the face and gets recruited to the boxing team because apparently he's some sort of genius, but like his arms are sticks. um and what I've written in this very brief review that I wrote is like, it's a typical old school BL with gay panic and slapstick humor, and in that sense not very groundbreaking, which it wasn't, because you
Mhm.
know it's got that thing where he, you know, everyone is, my microphone is running away. Everyone is just so coded into the role that they're supposed to have.
Mhm.
And again, it's one of those things where because he's so, you know, we obviously the Clueless Uke is inevitably linked with a typical brutish kind of like forceful seme, which honestly isn't too hard when you can just blow on this dude and he falls over. But like
Right.
typically there's a, you know, because that's why this was such a segue from the terrible men of November,
Yes.
that typically they are paired with men who don't necessarily treat them very well,
Or trash.
are trash. But in this case, the main character of Love Round, he is the one, he keeps punching his crush in the face because of his gay panic. And it's like, if it was the same, punching the Uke in the face, that would be a problem. But because he is so female coded,
it's not
his
seen as a
violence,
threat.
yeah, right?
And I think we've done a lot of leading up to in half terms and vague terms of why we think that this is less than ideal. I think here's where it's important to say why we both hate the fucking shit out of this trope. One, we do. We hate it. And I realize one of the biggest things about it is that, especially in comparison to the stuff I like reading, a character that has that little agency is just deeply unappealing to me. We're talking again, like Carola mentioned, these like sexless virginal characters who don't know anything about their body. And this is different from inexperience, because just because I did used to have some hoe days in my past, this is not talking about inexperience. We are talking about characters that are so detached from everything, from economics, from their bodies, from thought, just completely unburdened by complex thinking. And there's just something to me that is so unattractive about that. And then you pair them with these semis that all of them are on the non-con roller coaster. They're all just doing some level of highly dubious consent, or frankly no consent at all. The example that will always come to mind is the Nintendo from Private Tutor. Of just a character, the lights aren't on and no one's home.
Seriously, we need to do a Katekyo Private Tutor special, because
I love Kaede-san.
Yeah, but I love that manga. And like, again, I haven't
too.
read it in so long, so whenever you talk about all the negatives, I'm like, I don't remember any of that, because I was enjoying while the Sam is off on the non-con roller coaster, I'm on the denial train, and I'm just like, I don't understand what's happening here.
You're on the denial train waiting for that one spin-off with the hot doctor and the single dad who wants to shop.
It's fine. No, but I did have another paper, which actually segues nicely into this. This one, once again, is about shoujo manga, because they are so, again, they're very intertwined, and they are, BL is a subgenre originally.
Yes.
So this, and I just want to preface this by saying that I don't know anything about the scholar. I don't know, where this was originally published in something called the Lambda Alpha Journal in 2010. I don't know what that is. I don't know how credible this is, but I did find a lot of things in here that
it's better next time.
I think it's funny, like Lambda Alpha Journal. Like, yes, that sounds about right. But no, this is a scholar named Nathan Winters who has looked at shoujo from an anthropological and English literary perspective. Okay. And the title of this paper is Sexual Violence Against Women in Shoujo Manga. And there are 2 pages here where I have a bunch of notes where they talk about, and again, this is about shoujo, but it could have been any BL, especially from the early 2000s. So one of the important things is that the shoujo is typically a teenage girl. So she's in puberty, a time where their bodies start to change, and many of the readers might be interested in finding their first love, which overlapping audiences and experiences. Even today, he says, Japanese women are expected to be humble, passive, and polite, an ideology that breeds a culture of silence. And again, let's juxtapose that with the invisible, silent minority of gay men in contemporary Japan, and especially like 15 years ago. And then here is the bit about the shoujos. So this is referring to a specific manga, which is, interestingly, Yokujo Climax by Ukyo Ayane. But Ukyo Ayane also publishes BL under the name Sakyo Aya. So this is very on brand, because I was like, I know her. I've read
Yeah.
stuff by her. And so this is based on a manga by her where the female protagonist is forcibly grabbed and kissed by her love interest.
Hmm.
Um, yes, the image reveals several important aspects of the scenario, specifically the expression of possession, the use of money as means of that possession, as well as the sexual connotations from the stolen kiss, and the obvious difference in power between the male and female characters. The male character is wealthy, physically powerful, sexually alluring, and obviously in control of the situation, whereas the female protagonist is poor, unable to resist, and through her expression, unable to mentally comprehend the situation that she is in. How does that sound? Does that sound familiar?
I mean, like we just talked about that.
Exactly.
We just talked about how I think, especially for us, that Clueless Uke Trope is so hard to deal with, especially now, is because of that power dynamic. It is
Mhm.
that it's set up inherently unfair. And we always talk about our episode with Dr. Thomas, where we say that we've always been having these conversations as Fujin, as fans.
Yeah.
We've been having these conversations forever. We have been uncomfortable with this trope. I think many of us for longer than any of us like admitting. And it was at the time easier to hide that discomfort with disdain. So like for me, that was something that I was learning, how much of like my edgelordiness was hiding, you know, disliking something as hatred, as anger.
Yeah.
Um, so it wasn't that I hated these characters. It's I hated what these characters made me feel like, which
Mm.
is this perpetualized feigned innocence, this damsel innocence in a world that Carola.
I'm just trying to fix
Carola
something. It's fine. We're good. We're good.
uh, this feigned to be seized up and trapped innocence.
Yeah.
Because I know, at least for me, when I was reading BL, it was a form of gender escapism.
Mm-hmm.
So to be held down by all the things I was trying to escape
Yeah.
in the exact same place.
Yeah. And then it's also like because and there are so many conflicting, emotions there because
Mhm.
I also, I had a lot of that, but then similarly to what we were talking about in the I almost called it the edgelord episode, but the
It
the
was, yeah.
yeah, it was the edgelord episode that we again the access was limited and it was kind of like I can't allow myself to feel uncomfortable because I'm supposed to be enjoying this, and
Mhm.
what other options do I have? Like I don't have any other BL. I have to like this. And but then also there's the thing that is stated further on this page where it says that, talking about the conflicted message between basically seeming to pander to the male gaze while
Mhm.
also like appealing to a female audience because it is a
Mhm.
female audience.
Mhm.
Um, and it says that there is the alternative controversial idea of eroticism for women. And so the male character, though displaying aggressive traits, is also designed to be appealing. An ideal construction of a male character who falls in love essentially with a normal character, because with the clueless shoujo heroine we're supposed to
Mhm.
identify with her, and the uke, and this is where what I said earlier, that I get confused sometimes because on one hand you often hear people talk about BL subverting gender, like the BL
Mhm.
characters are a third gender, like they're not supposed to represent men or women, but then we also
Right.
talk about how they are substitutes for women and
Yes.
subverting the male and the female, while also the ukisema trope literally
Really
being,
glorifying it. Like
yeah,
really.
like literally being a reproduction of that while also stepping back from it. So it's very confusing.
Yeah.
So in that sense, they are both kind of like idealized characters, but the uke is still supposed to kind of represent us as women. And
Yes.
we can be as plain and stupid and pointless as we want. We're still gonna get the hot guy.
Yes.
Kind of like
Yeah.
that's
It
the kind of
is.
the idea.
it is this really, really weird reinforcement of a gender role. And I think, it's a wider issue in society. It's still how we look at queer people. Like, I remember I had a coworker that was a gay man, and I was an out bisexual. Our boss, he was one of those like nice guys,
Oh, nice, my
where like
lady.
he was so like, I don't know why I didn't have a girlfriend in high school. I was so nice. It's like, you having to say how nice you were is why you didn't have a girlfriend in high
Yeah,
school.
that's not. Um,
You saying that women owed you a relationship for existing is why you didn't have a girlfriend in high school. But he was so obsessed with like the two queer people in the office, like, well, which one of you is the top and which one of you is the bottom in your relationship?
right.
Like it matters. One, like it matters. Like that
Two, like it's
says
any of
something.
your business.
We're not even there. We can't even broach that part of the topic like it's any of his fucking business as our boss. But what do you mean?
Isn't that sexual harassment?
It is.
Oh my god. And
It is.
like again, in case you have somehow wandered into this podcast and you are not like you're not from here, you don't go here.
Yes.
I just want to specify that there is a difference, first of all, between like people are allowed to have preferences,
Yes.
but also there is a difference between fictional top bottom dynamics
Yes.
and like fetishizing real life gay people. Those
Yes.
two are not the same.
Not the
I
same.
just want to
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with these stereotypes in fiction necessarily, as long as you're aware that people aren't necessarily like this in real life.
But but he would ask these questions like that was somehow like a personality test. It's like,
Yeah.
oh well, Amanda does this, therefore this.
Hmm.
Or even, I see this perpetuated still in real life queer spaces where it's like, oh, bottoms don't pay. It's like, okay, what you're telling me is that you don't want a mature relationship, and that's fine. I get that. Sometimes I just want to be treated like a pretty, pretty princess,
Yeah.
and I don't want to contribute anything to a conversation outside of my cleavage. I understand. I have nights like that.
I mean, fine. Like everyone, and that's the thing. Like everyone likes to be treated, but I
Right.
also feel like, especially again, like just bringing feminism and the horrible, horrible state of the world into the equation. If you are someone who can get taken advantage of and
Mm-hmm.
assaulted,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want you to pay for me if I don't know you, because I don't want to owe you anything in your twisted little world.
Right. Like the amount of guys that have deduced that lobster equals sex. That
Note
if
to
I
self: never
purchase,
let anyone treat me to lobster. But I probably can't eat lobster. I think I'm allergic.
but it's like the amount of like unhinged r/nice guys posts I see is like, but I bought you a steak. Like we aren't bears. You didn't bring
And listen,
me.
the bear doesn't buy anyone a steak to get to mate with them either. I just
Right,
want to
like
point out that
we're
the
not
bear.
fucking wild animals. You bought me a steak? Is this your dowry? Is this what you're offering to the village to take my hand? Is you,
Which
yes.
Which I think that, and like the manga equivalent isn't even that. Like the manga equivalent, whether it is BL or presumably
Mm-hmm.
straight relationships, because let's be fair, shoujo manga is like, for the most part, unless someone is literally sexually assaulted, there isn't a lot of sex. Like these people
No.
will spend, I don't know, 25 volumes trying to confess to each other, like
Mhm.
like maybe they'll kiss, I don't know. But so I'm basing myself mostly on BL, but I have also seen this in shoujo, say, right, where
Mhm.
the male, and I've mentioned this before, the male character or the same character will get aroused, and then it will be like, well, what am I supposed to do with this then? And it's like, well, I took you out, or I kissed you forcibly, or I spent time with you, and now I'm horny. you have to deal with it. Like, you have to fix it. Like, you can't just take care of it
Take
yourself.
responsibility.
Yeah, no, that doesn't work. And then you have the clueless Uke, who doesn't know how sex works, by the way, sitting there like, okay, and
I guess I owe him.
I guess I'll do that then. I don't know how, but I guess it's like, yeah. Do you want to hear about the manga I read?
No, but go ahead.
Okay,
Like,
so
no.
it came out in 2018 in Japan. It came out like last year here, like Golden Sparkle, and I've owned
Okay.
this since it came out, but I haven't read it until this week because I have a problem. Okay, it's been sitting in a box, and so in Golden Sparkle, it does subvert a lot of these tropes, because once this Uke kind of gets, into things, he's very assertive and he's very interested in learning. But this
Okay.
kid, okay, Himari is interesting because he's ticking all of these boxes, and this boy knows nothing. He is terrified of girls because of something that happened on his first day of kindergarten. Some girl was mean to him, and he's been avoiding girls ever since. Conveniently, he was not present for health class, so he didn't get sex ed. He doesn't use the internet because he doesn't see the point of it, and he doesn't have a smartphone because he only watches disaster movies. He has seen sex scenes because they do happen in disaster movies, because what else will we do, when the zombies attack? So
Sure.
he knows about sex, he just doesn't know about anything else. So, like, blowjobs, he has never heard of until he's introduced to it via porn. But this kid knows nothing. And then he starts
Okay.
having wet dreams. He's in high school, and he thinks
Okay.
he's sick. Naturally, he can't Google this because, he's opposed to the internet, I guess. And so apparently he has never had an erection while awake. He's never jerked off. He doesn't know how to do it. Cue his new bestie, Gaku, who, parenthesis, I'm reading from my notes, I first thought was his teacher, which would have, taken us in deeper into this trope. But no, he's just a guy in his class. So Gaku shows him. And then Himari thinks it has to be the other guy's hands. He can't do it himself. It has to be the other guy. And then he has like this very brief moment of, but he's a guy. But then he gets over it really quickly. He doesn't really get to be bothered by it for very long. And it's like, I was reading this. Again, this is from 2018. And all I can think is, how have you lived in the world? And like, okay, fine. So he doesn't use the internet. He doesn't have a smartphone. But like, there are people around him. He's just,
And I think,
he's perfect as a clueless Uke. Though I will say, he learns
yes.
quickly. He gets very enthusiastic once he gets the hang of it. And also, this is the first manga I've seen that touches upon, we need to use lube, we need to have safe sex, and they teach him about douching. So I was like, this is actually quite progressive. But he is such a clueless Uke, and he's perfect in his
Well,
stupidity.
and I think what's interesting about it is, again, like, we've had these dialectics now as fans and as individuals about how non-con and dub-con can make us uncomfortable in fiction. How presenting what is supposed to be your sexual partner as someone who is clearly in no ways not equal to you.
Mm-hmm.
We've learned that that initial discomfort wasn't needless. It wasn't, because I remember going back to the point about this being the only thing that we had available. I do remember having that crisis of faith a few times where it's like, oh, I hate BL. I don't like BL because I don't like this and I'm tired of this. No, I don't hate BL. I hate that there's this virgin trope, that this maidenhood trope that comes from Sojo, and because of BL's roots in Sojo, is always there. And when we say internalized misogyny, we're talking about how that character could and oftentimes is supposed to reflect you as person.
Mhm.
And when they are nothing but helpless, when they're nothing but hopeless, when they're nothing but detached and unaware, that does something to you. I think it was interesting to me when I was growing up in this how all of us wanted to be semes.
Mm. Yeah, I wonder
We
why. I mean, of course,
like
part of that I think definitely is like the Fujin to some sort of gender
mhm.
non-conforming creature pipeline.
You just call me a creature?
No, I was referring mostly to myself. I
I
think.
was like, did you just call me a
No,
creature?
no. This is like
Yeah,
us AFAB not very into
right.
gender,
Right.
like all of us. Like
Right. But it was funny because we're going to talk about this when we talk about BL misogyny. I remember seeing that in like female protagonists of shows, like seeing like Kagome from Inuyasha like that, seeing Toru from Fruits Basket like that. And it drove me so far away from female characters and femininity that when I started seeing it in other places, including BL,
yeah,
it just like automatically turns my brain off. It's like, no. And I think part of that is why I took a lot of comfort in existing IP BL because while in theory I can hit Mellow with the Uke beam, he's always still going to be Mellow.
yeah.
Like I can hit him with the UK beam, which I realized I did. I made him shorter than Matt, and he's actually like an inch taller. I did hit him with the UK beam. I'm aware of that now, but he still has all of his agency and vivaciousness as he does in the series. Also, please appreciate the existential crisis I had writing one of my last chapters, saying, I wonder if I'm taking Matt out of character and realizing there is no character to take out of character.
I mean, you just yeah. He's a tricky one. He's like
I
there's
was
not
so
a lot to
concerned.
build on.
I was so concerned that I was taking him OOC, and it's like, there's no character
You
for you
know,
to take out of character.
yeah. I wanted to tell you this because I was so amused. I was reading stuff, and one of the first manga I thought of when I was like I have to like reread old stuff
Mm-hmm.
was um if you listen to the episode where we were guests on the BL Gardens
Yes.
podcast, we talked about this old BL called Skyscrapers of Oz, Ozu no Matenro. And I famously bought this manga after that episode because I had to
Mm-hmm.
read it because they kept talking about it.
Yes.
And I was going to find it on my shelf, and I kid you not, I have been referring to this manga in my head. I'm like, but isn't it called Skyscrapers? Please forgive me. What is that? Why is that stuck in my brain? That's Amanda's Matt and Mellow thing. And I've been thinking about it nonstop, and I just keep like thinking of that instead. And I wanted to tell you that. I was just like,
Smug author headshots.
yeah. Also, the first chapter of the sequel is up, so like,
Go
go
read
support
that.
your local Amanda.
Go support your local smut peddler. If you want thousands of words dedicated to Matt and Mello, just full fix it canon divergence.
Now, I still haven't read it, but I'm vouching for it. I trust you. I know you can
Just
write.
I got to use the tag nobody lives, everybody lives, no one dies. I've
Oh,
never used
nice.
that tag before.
Which is nice for something based on a work called Death Note.
I got to use the everybody lives tag
That
while
sounds
still
amazing.
maintaining that Elle and Light fucked each other.
Well, of course they did. I will die on that hill. Like, I have a lot of hills to die on, so I
There are
guess you have to
several
chop me.
hills.
You have to chop me into pieces and put me on
It
multiple
plants
hills.
you.
But but there is no way in hell they did not fuck each other.
Not.
In fact, I feel like between them, they kind of maybe are like half a clueless Uke, because like L clearly has no interest in anything that isn't, whatever the hell his autistic coded brain is interested in. And Light is like also very one tracked. So I feel like they could learn from each other, and I think that they could have fun exploring.
Because there is no heterosexual answer to why you need to be handcuffed to this teenage boy.
Listen, I have seen a lot of handcuffing happen in BL, and it has never not led to people fucking each other. I can tell you that.
Never.
So,
There's inevitably a scene where they have to share one bed or someone has to go to the bathroom that inevitably leads up to.
it was
But
so beautiful.
oh god. But we hate this trope because of what it continues to portray to we're not supposed to be impressionable readers, but even as adults we're impressionable readers, to impressionable readers, that it is okay to be in a relationship where one partner has all the money,
Has all the power.
has all the social standings. And I
And
think,
it's like
yes,
routinely controlling you in all that
just,
you do.
and it's so weird because I would love to say, oh, I'm bigger than that. I can just see it for what it is, which is fiction. But this has so many real world consequences
Yeah.
in perpetuating this very, very harmful version of self image that is reliant on a dominant man. Yeah, I every once in a while I'll dip my toes back into dating because I haven't decided whether I'm comfortable dying alone yet or not.
That is bleak.
I haven't decided if I'm comfortable with that thoughtfully, so I won't commit myself to it. Every once in a while, I'll just open up a dating app and be sorely disappointed.
Yeah, can see that. It doesn't seem. Before going into studio today, I was listening to a video about, just people reading Reddit posts and dating, screenshots from dating
Mhm.
apps and things, and I'm just like, Jesus Christ, no.
Yeah, I can very quickly see how if this is all of the media that you ingest, and I say this again, I have this issue with any media form. I hate these kinds of power imbalances in any relationship. Again, to the Hallmark movies, I hated it when it was a Hallmark movie where it's like, oh, I'm the cake obsessed secretary of the most powerful real estate broker in the entire city, and I don't have a job, but my passion for cake. One day I'll open up a bakery with his money and just make Christmas themed cupcakes that don't look good.
Yeah.
None of this, all this
See,
business.
this is why Gremlins is my favorite Christmas film.
So my favorite Christmas movie isn't a Christmas movie at all, but it's a movie that me and my best friend used to watch around Christmas, which is the first Kingsman movie.
Of course it is.
Because if you know me, there's not going to be an original take here. So my Christmas movie is the first Kingsman movie. Because I remember showing that to my best friend. He had never seen it before, and he was like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah, but like that's it. Like it still counts if it is something that you associate with Christmas that you watch every Christmas. So, for instance, again, bringing back Czech Cinderella that all of Norway has to watch at 10 a.m.
Yes.
on Christmas Eve, because if not, it's not Christmas. And this is again Czech Cinderella dubbed in Norwegian, where one dude does the voices for everybody. And if we don't get to see this, we go absolutely feral. This has nothing to do with Christmas, but it is the number one Christmas film. And the only reason I'm not mentioning it as my favorite Christmas movie is because you don't watch Czech Cinderella outside of Christmas Eve. ever. But I can watch Gremlins 60 times during December. Like, that's fine.
Yeah, like I can't watch the original animated How the Grinch Stole Christmas in February. That's not allowed.
Right? No, that is weird.
But
Yeah.
since we talked a lot about hatred, how
Yes?
can we turn this around from two BL writers?
Oh no. I would say, why are you springing this on me? I realized that it's in the outline. I just didn't realize that it would. No, but I didn't realize that ways to make it better would pertain to me as an author. I didn't think you were gonna make me. Okay.
I love how this is just you.
Okay, you. Yeah.
Yes.
No. You go first.
Oh, okay.
I need some time to regroup.
I think the biggest way to avoid this is that there is a very, very fine line between being inexperienced and being incapable of human survival.
Yeah.
There was once I did not exit the womb a full-fledged hoe.
Very few people do, I think.
Exactly. Right. Like, yes, there were times where I was inexperienced, where I didn't know. Shit, as an adult, there are so many things that I still don't fully understand. Like, yes.
Adulthood is such a scam because you just keep learning that no one else knows what they're doing either.
Right.
There is no manual.
There's no manual. So, like, there's a way to write the fact that I still don't fully understand how to buy a house. Like, I have a good idea, but I couldn't explain all the steps to you in detail.
Well, to be fair, in this economy,
it's not happening.
You don't need to know how.
I don't need to.
It's not available to you.
Yeah, like, it's not happening.
It's not realistic.
But if I was going to write out a scene in which that needed to happen, you know, that I don't understand all of that without dumbing my character down so far or dumbing me down so far that I don't understand anything. There are absolutely ways to portray ignorance, innocence, or even just a lack of understanding without making that character seem just obscenely stupid. And there are ways to write your tops in a way that one feels much less predatory. Because so many of the semeis in these like Clueless Uke stories just feel like wolves.
And to be fair, a lot of them, you know, do have a penchant for locking up the Uke in various apartments and whatever. What? You know, like there's a pipeline, which is just like you know. I guess it's just like, you know, that meme which is like, I'm sorry, it's a main character when your kid is born with like brightly colored hair. It's the same thing. Like, he has the yaoi anatomy. He has no choice. He has to buy an apartment building and commit a non-con and then trap some poor Uke in that house. Like, that is
like that a is deer.
Just, like, he can't stop it because it is written in his DNA.
That he has to go do a non-con.
And kidnap people and, you know, whatever it is they do.
I don't know why he just reminded me of Naoki from Jazz.
Oh my god.
He was born this way. I don't know why. I don't know why immediately that brought up Naoki.
Like, Yaoi life chose me. It was bestowed upon me from birth.
I mean, for Naoki, yes. Born without a father, incredibly rich.
I hate it when that happens.
I know. But you can make characters on equal footing.
Yeah.
And it not be an issue of, is this other character going to survive without their partner? You know, I know a lot of us go to this kind of fiction as escapism. Like, in my Matt and Mela fic, will there be like an intricate discussing of finances and assets? No.
What assets?
Right. What
They
else?
live in a they live in a warehouse. I don't like.
There's not going to be like an intricate discussion where they both write out like living wills.
I
Like,
feel like the only thing that they would have to discuss is like if one of us dies or we decide to split up, you don't get any of my chocolate and I don't get any of your video games. That's it. Those are their belongings. Like
those
that
are
is
their
all.
assets. Yeah, like there's not there, I'm not going to sit down. They're not going to have a conversation that goes on for pages about what denomination of church they want to marry into.
Oh my god.
Like you can do a lot without having to take everything to its most literal climax.
Yeah.
And I feel like old BL never made me feel like that.
Mm.
It always felt like I had to take everything to its very natural conclusion, or there was just concepts of a plot. There was a start, concepts of a plot, and then act that is usually dubcon.
Yeah.
Then everything is forgiven.
Yeah.
That's
And
the end of the series.
And like again, I don't know this for sure. I do have a suspicion that one of the reasons why we kept getting these is because a lot of the time these were one shots and often like earlier works of these BL mangaka, like they're very and typically you would go down that route because that is, work you see a lot. I guess it sells a lot, so it's easy to get published. But because it's older, I guess it was easier to get it licensed. So I definitely think there must be some sort of like there is some sort of reason why we were getting so much of it all at once in that way. And like we would get these types of stories from authors who had done way bigger and more famous in Japan works, but we never saw them because I guess they couldn't afford it. And so it's like, have this thing that they wrote in one magazine once that is full of non-con.
And it's interesting to discuss that, a lot of the uke trope is rooted in this very Japanese idea of what young ladies should be aspirationally. Of, ideally your young lady should be virginal and innocent and not know and not be troubled by complex thinking, which is still something that men say.
Increasingly, even in today's society.
They don't want a woman who thinks, and that just makes me so sad. But also, I do a lot of thinking, and I'm technically a woman.
Technically.
Technically.
Yeah, but then I'm also like, that is also a form of self-preservation because at least I know then, not that this applies to me because I'm not going to find a man anyway, but like, at least I know that I'm safe. I have been vaccinated. Like, they're not going to want me anyway. Thank God.
I've been protected by intelligence.
Exactly. I was just about to say by intelligence.
It's
Academia has saved me.
You put on every day like sunscreen. My intelligence will protect me from these men.
Oh my god! It's like it's like in Mulan when he's like, the tattoo will protect me against everything.
Yeah, exactly. Me with books.
Yes.
But I think that there's so many ways to like keep these characters, on even ground and still hint at there being, possibly some innocence, possibly some lack of experience and things that aren't understood. You can still do that and not sacrifice your other characters' like entire essence or being.
Yeah.
Or you can take my route, which is just go full non-con then. Don't try to frame it as healthy and happy. Don't try to sit here and make it sound like this is an aspirational #couple goals goal. Then just be messy, and that's fine too.
Yeah, and yeah, because I think like I was thinking of how like what my solution or like advice or whatever would be, and I mean, first and foremost, because again, I have to like over explain everything, but like duality exists.
Yes.
You can have both. Like you literally just explained it. You can have both, and like it is perfectly okay. And which we have said so many times on this podcast. Like two things can be true at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Everything doesn't have to be representational. Everything doesn't have to be healthy. But like, just like, as long as you're aware of it, like I said at the beginning of the episode, when I was reading through these academic texts, I started to play a little devil's advocate because, you know, I've read so much of these things and, you know, blocked out the bad things and just focused on whatever it was I wanted to see. And like,
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to root for the couple. I wanted them to be happy. And again, I think that is a lot easier to swallow with a lot of BL because it typically is like a one shot. It
Mm-hmm.
typically is. It's not, you know, a shoujo that spans 20 volumes where the male protagonist just keeps on getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And I'm over here like, when am I supposed to think that he is a good love interest?
Never.
I like what am I looking at here? You know, like I think it's a lot easier to swallow when you basically have that basic recipe,
Mm-hmm.
which is okay, guy meets guy, there's
Mm-hmm.
gonna be some dumbassery, and then they're gonna have sex, and then they're gonna be happy ever after, even though it's not ideal. And it's kind of like, you know, that silent acceptance, and then just like filtering out all of the bad things,
Mm-hmm.
and then of course remembering that again, this is fiction and it is a product very often of the time period and the
Mm-hmm.
trends in fiction that were around when it was written. But then, as a writer, you know, or any kind of creator, when you're making it yourself, just have that at the back of, you know, at the back of your mind and allow your characters to be more well rounded. Because, you know, again, like you said, a character can absolutely be innocent or
Yeah.
have like moments like, but just like make them, because we're all humans, like we have good sides, we have bad sides, we have, you know, things that we absolutely do not understand.
Math.
But fucking math. I was fighting with Rora last night because I was claiming, like, we were watching figure skating and I was claiming that no, but he has podium because when you know, and she was like, no, because there are 3 spots. It would have to be only 2, and I was arguing so vehemently, and I was wrong because I can't do math, and you know, yeah, but it's like you know, and likewise with the toxic character, or you know,
Mm-hmm.
the semi, like he can absolutely have some of those traits because again, most of us aren't reading romance type fiction for the realistic portrayal of anything. So you know, he can have some bad sides, but maybe the Uke character doesn't have to like just silently take it and be all, oh, I don't know how to, I don't know, call the police.
And you know,
Just
I
give
think
them
sometimes,
agency, I think is what I'm trying to say.
yeah, I think sometimes as fans trying to grapple with topics like this, I remember there was like a whole phase in my panel career where my solution was basically like call the fictional police,
But you know,
which is call the fictional fucking police. But at the same time, it's like you can do that and acknowledge its toxicity and acknowledge its allure and acknowledge what it means plot wise. Because I think one thing that we are missing in this is why this keeps happening. It's easy.
is it misogyny?
Well, yes, but it's narratively easy.
Yeah.
You essentially are creating an amorphous blob that readers are supposed to insert personality into.
Yeah. Yeah.
You guys might be too young for this, but you might remember the insert your name style of fic.
How are people too young for that? I feel like that is a very new thing.
It is oh sweet, sweet summer child. It is not.
I think it's just because I have always avoided that side of things.
Yeah, I was gonna say I was doing.
But so to me, this is like a Wattpad phenomena.
Oh,
One Direction
oh,
fic.
sugar,
Like-
no. Oh, baby girl, no, no. We were doing that back in the Quizzilla
Okay.
days.
I was not.
Yeah,
I was
no,
very much
no.
not.
No,
I
baby.
don't want to be, again, I don't want to be anywhere near these characters unless I am the fly on the wall watching them fuck. I don't want to be there.
Like, no,
That would ruin everything.
no, baby. We're talking Quizzilla days. We're talking deviant art.
Clearly, I was
You were
off
busy.
in some.
Oh, Quizzilla.
Oh God.
That site that was supposed to be about quizzes.
Again, which see, I wasn't there, so how would I know? I wasn't aware of the secret fanfic life on Quizilla that apparently everyone was enjoying while I was off doing other things.
While you were off playing around like a Scandinavian milkmaid. The rest of us were writing.
What image is it that you have of us? I don't understand.
When you're off dressed up like a folk character,
And like
gathering in the fjords.
Obviously, the worst part is that during this era was when I actually went to the agricultural vocational school.
Exactly.
So I actually was milking cows.
Yeah, so fuck you. Like, I'm wrong.
Just not in the way that you imagine, okay? I was wearing green overalls and steel-tipped boots.
No.
And we had machinery.
No, you're dressed like the little girl from the Swiss Miss hot chocolate tins.
Yes, of course. Clearly, that can't you just see it?
Yes. But I think the thing is that it's easy and it's a simple way out, and it goes back to, again, like the types of fanfic and the types of content that we ingested. So like for me, I took that intense discomfort of wanting to make anyone like climb into my shoes. Like that horrifies me. The idea of trying to make myself a palatable character is horrifying to me. I don't know how I do it. We'd have to pick one trait and just run with it. But I think a lot of us hid from that by, again, hiding in further intellectual properties, by creating these very like, this character is designed to be everything against type, which then just became its own trope where you suddenly had the, I'm Raven Lilyheart the Fifth. I'm proficient in every type of sword combat technique.
Yeah, no, I wasn't there.
I would say you're missing nothing, but the culture, I think it was important.
I mean, I did watch that really long video essay about the My Immortal fic. So I feel like I learned a lot. Not that I would have gone there anyway, because one, I was too old. And
disassociate heavily.
Did you read that? Did you ever read that?
Of course I have.
Of course you did. Okay.
Of course I did. The fact that you haven't.
No, because one, I never read like OC stuff. Two, I never read Harry Potter stuff. And three, I didn't read Het stuff apart from Team Rocket. It doesn't count. Oh, my sweeties.
But those are some ways that you can make it better, because it is easy. And I can see why it was so prevalent when the world of yaoi and BL was so young and formative. And I think now the writers that are still perpetuating it are those that are still just trying to find that through line connection that allows them to tap into the same nostalgia, heart, and feeling that existed in early BL. Unfortunately, for many of us, we have deconstructed that myth to a point where it is no longer, as the kids would say, hitting. Like it just, again, Fujin have been having these conversations forever.
Yeah, and it's like, I'm pretty sure that I mentioned this in some other episode, but I just think it's worth mentioning because of what you just said, like, because BL comes in many, many forms and many media, right? And again, we talk about the global BL, and so I have to mention the Thai BL because, again, this was something that I was so oblivious to for such a long time, and then I basically had like this crash course into it when, Kim Porsche, but also when I got COVID. I don't know what happened there. I was watching Tarn Type and I hated it. And one of the reasons for that is that, and I think this is interesting because this shows how quickly it's evolving, because the Thai BL industry is so young. It is so young. And even though because I haven't seen like the classics. Like I haven't seen Together, I haven't seen Sodas, I haven't seen Lovesick. I'm working on that because you got to get into your classics. But like but I have seen relatively new things that
Mhm.
are still created within a relatively new space, and there is so much of it that is just like a blueprint of early 2000s Japanese BL. And I think
Mhm.
that that comes from, how that's, because that's what gets exported. And so the authors were like, well, this is the recipe. If we're going to make BL, then we need to have the non-con, we need to have the internalized
Mhm.
homophobic uke, we need to have all of these things. But
Mhm.
then at the same time, parallel to this, the industry is growing so quickly, so there's such a gap between the progressiveness, so the series coming out now
Mhm.
versus what was coming out like 2 years ago. Like there's an
Mhm.
ocean of difference. So again, all of these things are existing at the same time, and it depends on what are your resources, what is your context,
Mhm.
where are you coming from, kind of like
Mhm.
what is. But yeah, so these, they definitely still happen. And again, Golden Sparkle came out in 2018 and came out in English like last year or like this year,
Yeah.
and is such a throwback in so many ways. I'm just over here like, this isn't even on the oh no, I feel weird level. This is just, this kid knows nothing. Like, bless his heart.
Well, and I think it's amazing because this trope is so pervasive that it really does come across in all forms of media because we're starting to see that old misogynistic hatred of ukes um, coming back with Omegaverse and how
Yeah.
Omegaverse treats Omegas.
Yeah.
And it's
Like,
like, we
even I've
really,
seen that, and
yeah,
I don't even go here.
I
Like,
do. I
yeah,
go
I know
here.
you do, you
I,
Omegaverse scholar. I know. I
I,
know
I
what
go
you
here.
are.
But
I
it's
know what you
fascinating
are.
how much of, Omegaverse, when it was written as a desperate ploy to allow Mormon women to enjoy sex,
Hmm.
it was about empowerment
Yeah.
and, not embracing stereotype or dogma. But as soon as, especially when Japan got their fingers into it, how quickly it just started reinforcing like it's just Seme Uke 2.0.
Yeah.
And I think that's why we're having this conversation is that even when we think we're done with it, we're not. Even when we think we've surely evolved past this character trope, we haven't. We just haven't.
Oh, no. No. And of course we haven't.
But it's worth discussing because I know for me, that was really, really interesting to spot in like Omegaverse and be like, oh, the thinly veiled misogyny is here too.
Mm-hmm.
Which I always knew, but nice to confirm. Like I always knew,
Yeah,
I
right.
knew the
It's
thinly
always
veiled,
like, I knew I wasn't crazy. There it
right?
is. Like,
Because Omegaverse especially loves to gaslight you, like, oh, we're super progressive.
yeah, but like literally sometimes, and it's almost like the world wants to like keep you in check a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
because you can go around thinking, oh, we've come so far and we're doing so well, and then there's this
Like,
one
nope,
series that pops up and is like, wait a minute, bitch, remember me? And you're like, oh, hi, yeah,
you're back.
and a part of me has this weird nostalgia for it, but I think it's because, like, again, all of these things, not to sound like a fundamentalist Christian, but all of these things happen for a reason. Like, we have to start from somewhere. Like,
We do.
all of these things are building off of each other and springing out from other tropes and other
Mm-hmm.
subgenres and everything. So, like, there is a big connection. And I think that, sometimes we need to have, like, these terrible, very unhealthy, very not great, mediocre stories
Mm-hmm.
in order to get somewhere else, like to go somewhere from there. So in that sense, and I kind of feel like, I mean, I survived the very mediocre, unhealthy BL of the early 2000s with the Clueless Ukes and the terrible anatomy and the raging psychopath Simus, and I'm still here. Like, I did it.
I am technically still here with a few of the canonical boyfriends being exceedingly terrible.
Yeah. Again, we have had a slightly different.
We've had different
trajectories in
experiences.
lives.
Yes. It's like, I survived, and only a few of the canonical boyfriends have been awful.
Have some of them ever kidnapped you? Should I be concerned?
So I remember there was that meme a long time ago where it's like the legal definition of kidnapping is taking someone against their will further than 6 feet. So yes, I have been kidnapped by them.
Oh, okay, that's nice to know. Okay.
So they would like pick me up like a football and like carry me down the hall. It's like, you've been kidnapped. So yes, they have. This is what I was doing when I was anime club president in school.
Of course. Getting kidnapped.
Getting kidnapped regularly.
Ayo, as one does.
You would not survive a week in my anime club.
Probably not.
You would not survive a week. And that is not a good thing.
But to be fair, it is in the US, and I don't think I would survive there very long anyway.
It's only going to get worse considering that the horrible racist won. But I so badly want to be like, we're not the ghetto. But we are, though.
Yeah.
Like,
I saw a tweet yesterday where someone was like quote tweeted, and like the person who was quote tweeted was like, why should we care about and help third world countries? And then a European, I guess, quote tweeted it with, you know, all of the things that are happening in America, like your kids are being shot in school and you don't have health care and all of these things. You are a third world country.
And like, my gut is to refute and like, no, that's not true. And then checks news. There's erotic fan fiction about a guy who shot a billionaire on AO3.
Yeah, but I mean, not to be all French Revolution over here, but like, I can see why people are shooting people who are checks notes dealing with the so-called healthcare system that you have, because I'd be mad too. I mean, I haven't really studied. I was very confused about it for a while because like they haven't really reported a lot about it over here.
Because no one saw anything.
I saw that there was a lookalike contest.
There was. He's a very attractive murderer.
Yeah, I saw a photo, or what they believe his photo, and then I saw they found his backpack, and there were like
sales
Monopoly money, and yeah,
it's so good.
I think it's quite funny.
I do too, but you know, I think it was important to close on this topic for the year because it's been something that has followed both Carola and I think our entire Fujin journeys.
It's just this horribly pale, scrawny Uke giant eyes just following us around for the past 20 years.
They've never aged.
Mercy.
Yeah, they've never aged. It's just sad. Also, I was spending a lot of time on the artist for Hatoful Boyfriend on his website, and the official art that he has of our teacher, Mr. Natnaki, is
Our. Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
Our is in the game, not our as in shut up. Shut up.
Like, are you grouping me with you now? Like, am I also obsessed with these birds now?
No, our as in the game. Mr. Nanaki lived such a sad life, and I was legitimately sad about it yesterday.
Oh no!
He lived such a sad life, and I was very, very upset and emotional for a fictional bird.
I mean, can relate. We've all been there.
We have all been there. But guys, this is our last episode of the year.
Wow. That is so weird.
We are not going to have a live this month because I will be traveling. I will be going home for Christmas, as I usually do.
Yeah.
And it's nice to take breaks occasionally.
And, you know, as we have continuously discovered, there aren't that many weekends in a month. It's like So yeah, no,
Who's that?
we're not doing a live. I guess if you want to talk more about Clueless Ukes with us, you can always, join the Discord or like leave a comment, keep the discussion going, or we can always like pick it back up during the January live because I feel like the conversation is
Oh,
still here.
I mean, the thing is that we really could pick it up anywhere
Yeah,
because that's the thing. These conversations never stop.
no, and they're all connected.
They're all so interconnected. This is the part of the show where we thank our patrons for a stunning year.
Thank you so much, patrons.
Thank you, patrons, both new and old. We have Starlight, Kenny, Dobie80, Koval, Sue, Lucy H, Amora Blue, Nabila, Bryn, Leslie, Jamie, Lauren, and Jay. Thank you all so
Thank
much
you so
for
much.
supporting the show and helping us keep the literal and metaphorical lights on. We would probably still be here even without you
Yeah,
ranting into the wind.
let's face it, we are just doing this because we can't shut up about it.
We were forced into an arranged marriage years ago,
Yeah.
and we have stayed together.
This is our anniversary month, isn't it?
I think. Oh my God, is it?
Yeah, because Kazakhstan is always in December, right?
It is our anniversary month.
So I'm pretty sure yeah.
Yeah, this is our anniversary month. I made sure that I paid my pod wife. So
Yes,
thank you,
thank you.
patrons.
Thank you, pod husband, for sending me my allowance, as I said in chat.
Please don't spend it all on gelatin and lithium.
Okay. Don't worry. I will not be cooking this Christmas. I'm gonna make as little food as humanly possible. Um, it's okay. I have enough snacks to get me through the holidays. It's okay.
I love that. If you would like to receive behind the scenes looks, exclusive videos, and insight on what we wear for Halloween and other special occasions, and even vote on future episodes, you can do so at patreon.com/the Yaoi Shelf. Again, that is patreon.com/the Yaoi Shelf. Carla mentioned that we do have an 18 plus Discord where you are always welcome to chat with us. If you have comments, questions, concerns with this episode, leave them in the comments below. Send us a message on Discord. We're getting more active on Blue Sky.
Yeah, we're trying.
Yeah. I don't think we're going to do a full migration just yet, but we're definitely trying to up our Blue Sky game, knowing that a lot of people have fled Twitter.
Yeah.
And now when I go back to Twitter, I can only imagine that this is what it feels like being a European looking at America.
I can't speak to that because to me it's relatively,
I mean, yeah, like I do this for a living. My Twitter is locked down. So I
yeah.
don't get a lot of the nonsense, which I'm acknowledging is a privilege.
I had the unfortunate experience today of opening up Twitter and there was like this BS thing on there, which was like the first thing I saw this morning. I was like, God damn it, is this what it's like? Because I usually just hang out in my lists, which are heavily curated, so I only see those for the most part. And yeah, there's a lot of fandom wank, but at least, it's not usually not full of racism and transphobia and other horrible, horrible things.
Usually. But your engagement helps us out a ton, and we appreciate it. We learned that we have a 4.5 star rating on Spotify.
Thank you.
Thank you for everyone who's left us. Really this year has been everything I've always wanted this show to.
Oh, good. What? Am I not allowed to say good? Like, I'm glad you had a good year.
I'm talking about us.
I mean, clearly, I'm just a gelatinous blob filled with lithium who has no agency and no say. So I can say nothing but good. I'm glad you're happy.
What the fuck?
This is your creating. You've made this. You've turned me into this. I don't know. Like, what do you want from me?
But this year has been everything that I could ever hope for in a season. We tackled some important conversations. We got real personal. We discovered that the root of everything is just misogyny.
Which is, a topic that we intend to, unfortunately, delve even deeper into in the new year.
Correct. We have a bunch of amazing episodes coming up in the new year, and we certainly hope to see you around. We'll be
Yeah.
back in January.
And we do take, like, if you have any ideas, if you have
Mhm.
anything you want us to cover, anything
Mhm.
you think we should talk about, if you want to be a guest on the show,
Yeah,
let us know. Like, we have some slots open
We do. We always have slots open.
because we're sluts. God, I'm so tired. I can't.
We're gonna go hibernate now.
No, you're gonna go see Gladiator 2.
I still have a few hours.
Okay, but yeah, okay, fine.
I will see Gladiator too. I'll give you guys an update about all the plot.
Yeah, you mean all the horny?
I'll give you a full update on all the plot. Thank you guys for being here.
Thank you.
Carola, do you want to tell the fine listeners at home what we're covering next month when we get back from our holiday break?
Yes, I do, because as we all know, everyone's super broke in January, and I don't know about you guys, but our nation, the great nation of Norway, has a tradition for January sales. Before we imported Black Friday, that was what we did. We had the huge sales, the blowout sales in January. So what better time of the year than to talk about BL economics and the BL economy?
This has been an episode pretty much since we pitched it that you guys have said we need to do. I don't think we've had faster response to an episode topic than BL economy and BL economics. So we're going to talk about how the BL economy works. We're going to talk about why even the shonenest of shonen are still fueled by Fujin money, and how we manage to sustain an economy all our own just with the power of Fujin dollars, which is not a meme coin. We're not getting into cryptocurrency. I don't trust that shit.
No. But I can say this, spoiler, I am the BL economy. It is I.
We're going to talk about that.
Yeah, this is one of those things where it's like, stand up.
We are all a part of the BL economy in this way. We talk about this all the time. Like, we just had our Patreon payout. One of the biggest things I did with my payout last quarter was I commissioned fanfic from one of my friends.
The fuck is that sound? Oh.
Your phone?
Yeah, it was just a reminder. We have, Turicon has a ticket release in 5 minutes, so I have to remember to post a link.
Oh, yes. But, one of the first things I did with my Patreon money was I commissioned a friend. It's like, write smut for me, please. So we have been perpetuating this really, really interesting economy, both as fans and as Fujin, and it is now time to finally talk about that.
Yes.
Thank you all for listening. We appreciate you. Have a safe and happy holidays, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye. Happy holidays. She said very hesitantly. I was going to say happy Christmas.